For years, fans believed the chemistry was too real to be acting. What they didn't know was that Sam believed it too. It all began on the windswept moors of Scotland. At least, that's how the story goes. From the moment Outlander aired, the undeniable chemistry between Sam Heughan and Caitriona Balfe became the heartbeat of the series. As Jamie and Claire, they made audiences believe in time-traveling love, in soulmates bound across centuries. But soon, what was meant to stay on-screen began to seep off-screen, into quiet gestures, lingering glances, inside jokes whispered between takes. To the fans, it was clear. Something was happening behind the scenes. And in truth, it was. Away from red carpets and press junkets, Sam and Caitriona's bond grew. They spent long hours together filming in rugged landscapes, sharing stories in trailers, comforting each other during career highs and lows. It was a closeness so rare in Hollywood, so deeply authentic, that people couldn't help but ship them. Caitriona, they called it, half fantasy, half hope. But what the public never saw was how personal it became for Sam. He wasn't just acting opposite a co-star, he was falling, quietly, deeply, and maybe even helplessly. According to Sever. So they kept it private. There were no announcements, no Instagram posts, just a slow, secret rhythm of affection beneath the noise of fame. Caitriona would squeeze his hand after an intense scene. Sam would wait with her during late-night shoots. They showed up to events together, always side by side, always smiling, like a couple hiding in plain sight. Behind closed doors, they had nicknames for each other. They shared music playlists. There were whispered plans for travel after the season wrapped, and late-night texts that ended with, "I'm glad it's you I get to go through this with." But something shifted. As their popularity soared, so did the pressure. Publicists, producers, fan expectations, all blurred the lines between promotion and reality. Sam, ever the romantic, tried to hold on to what they had. Caitriona, always more guarded, began to pull away. And then came the silence. Sam started to notice changes. Caitriona grew distant during press tours. Their private moments became fewer. She began turning down informal dinners, skipped wrap parties. When asked, she'd simply smile and say, "I'm just tired." But the truth was heavier than fatigue. Then one day, it happened. Without warning, without conversation, without so much as a heads-up, news broke. Caitriona Balfe had gotten married. Quietly, secretly, to someone completely outside the industry. A music producer. No elaborate ceremony, no press release. Just a sudden, quiet wedding, and Sam hadn't been invited. He hadn't even been told. Friends say he found out the way everyone else did, through headlines. Alone, on his phone. And in that moment, everything shattered. What he thought was a special bond, now felt like a carefully crafted illusion. Like he had been part of something real only in his own heart. To the rest of the world, it was just acting. PR. A romance designed to serve a show, and then disappear once the cameras stopped rolling. He was devastated. Not because Caitriona owed him anything. Not because love must always be returned. But because what he thought was genuine had ended in betrayal. Not by malice, but by silence. That was the day Sam Heughan stopped smiling in interviews when her name came up. The day he began answering questions with vague nods and polite deflections. The day fans began noticing a distance that was once unthinkable. And maybe, just maybe, that was the day he started building walls where once there had only been trust. Sam Heughan had always been the quiet type, not shy, but private. Dignified, the kind of man who smiles through chaos and keeps his heartbreak where no one can reach it. So when Caitriona Balfe's secret marriage broke in the news, he didn't lash out. He didn't tweet cryptic quotes. He didn't unfollow anyone or stage a meltdown. Instead, he went silent. But behind that silence, those who truly knew him saw the change. They saw how the light in his eyes dimmed just a little during interviews. They heard the crack in his voice when reporters brought up how close he and Caitriona had always seemed. And they noticed how, over time, he stopped speaking about her at all. One of his longtime crew members later said in an off-record interview. He looked like a man who had been blindsided by someone he trusted with his whole heart. What made it worse wasn't just the betrayal of love, it was the betrayal of trust. Sam had never asked for grand gestures or public declarations. All he had ever wanted was honesty. And after everything they'd shared, the years of filming together, the inside jokes, the quiet conversations between takes, he believed Caitriona would at least tell him. Warn him, let him hear it from her first. But she didn't. She had chosen someone else, and she hadn't looked back. To the outside world, Caitriona's decision to marry quietly was mature, classy, even admirable. And maybe it was, but for Sam, it felt like erasure, like everything they'd built had been swept under a rug and sealed behind closed doors. Not just the romance, but the friendship, the trust, the deep, sacred bond that had once made them inseparable on screen and off. That hurt more than words could explain. Privately, Sam confided in only a handful of people. One close friend revealed that he spent weeks retreating into himself, avoiding parties, turning down invitations, disappearing from social media. He buried himself in work, in the gym, in long hikes through the Scottish countryside. Anything to escape the hollow silence she left behind. But even in the quiet, his heart kept asking the same question. Was I ever real to her? In a rare, emotional podcast appearance several months later, Sam was asked about heartbreak. He paused. Then, with a sad smile, he said, "Sometimes the most painful goodbyes are the ones that never get said out loud." It was the only time he ever addressed it, indirectly, but unmistakably. Fans who'd followed him for years knew exactly what he meant, and many cried with him. The betrayal didn't turn Sam bitter, but it changed him. He became more cautious, more reserved. He poured his energy into his passions, the Sassenach whiskey brand, his charity work with My Peak Challenge, and his deepening connection with fans, not as a celebrity, but as a man who had been hurt, and chose healing instead of hate. Interestingly, he never spoke ill of Caitriona. Not once. He continued to praise her work, celebrate the success of Outlander, and honor the years they'd built something beautiful together, even if it didn't end the way he thought it would. Some say that's weakness, but to many, it's the clearest sign of strength. Because in Hollywood, where betrayal often becomes scandal, and silence is rare, Sam chose grace. He let go without a fight. He forgave without receiving an apology. And he moved forward, carrying his wounds like medals of honor rather than chains of regret. Today, he still believes in love. But he's no longer looking for it in the shadows of old scripts or the spaces between cut and action. He's learned that real love doesn't hide. It doesn't use. And it never leaves you guessing where you stand. Sam Heughan may have been devastated. But he didn't break. He rose. Quietly, powerfully, unforgettably.